I'm David Nelson,
Hi, I'm Cam Newton.
and you're watching Gator Country.
Gator Country.
Hello, Gator Country. I'm Cassidy Hill. This is Nick Delatorre. Out here in front of the swamp today. Didn't get to go to practice, but still wanted to give you your video updates because, give the people what they want.
Absolutely.
But we're going to look back at the past 2 weeks of practice. Nick, you've been there for every single practice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a much better employee than I am. He's been there for every single practice. We have one more week before the Orange and Blue debut, or really, I guess it should be called a practice with live scrimmage presented by Sunfield. But you can still get your tickets for that. But anyways, we're going to look back over the past 2 weeks, try to hit every single position if possible, and kind of just say what you've seen from them, what you've seen from particular people. I have notes in here for us.
Thank you.
And then what they need to do for the last week before they head into that last spring practice. Okay,
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the position that everyone wants to know about, quarterbacks.
Yeah.
First up, let's go with Treon Harris. He did get to start a couple of games last year, so he may be a little bit ahead, I guess, on paper, but is that the case on the field?
Well, it's nice to have the opportunity. He played in front of 100,000 fans in Knoxville. He's had these opportunities to go to Doak and to play LSU and to play these teams. So the experience helps, but new coaching staff, clean slate, and really, just like Will Grier, Treon Harris never really had to do anything under center. So both quarterbacks are learning how to take a snap under center and the footwork that they need to do after that, to take a 3-step drop, to take a 5-step, 7-step drop. So he's really learning. The experience that you mentioned absolutely helps, but it's kind of taking it back to the basics, just learning how to move your feet, because what you're being asked to do this year is so different than what you've been asked to do even since high school.
The things fans seemed to like about him last year, you heard a lot coming out of games, is that Treon was able to make something out of nothing. Mm-hmm. And when Gator fans see that, they start to hear whispers of Tim Tebow 2.0. But is that really enough to be named a starting quarterback of a major SEC school?
No, that's a good question, because you look at these quarterbacks that are coming out now in these spread offenses, and Marcus Mariota can do stuff with his feet. Jameis Winston does not look pretty running, but as big as he is, he was hard to tackle. Tim Tebow, excuse me. Tim Tebow wasn't a graceful runner. He didn't look like Percy Harvin when Percy would run, but at 6'3", 240, 250, he's hard to bring down. Treon Harris is more of the scat back kind of guy, smaller, shiftier, and that kind of stuff can help, and it's why he took over the job last year. The coaching staff looked, saw what they had on the offensive line, saw what they had on offense, and thought his running is going to add a dimension to our offense. It did it. I don't know if there were any dimensions to Florida's offense last year, but being able to run is never going to hurt you as a quarterback.
Okay, so let's move to the guy who's much more of a, by appearance anyways, a pocket quarterback, Will Grier. He's the guy you say is your clear-cut runner right now as far as who's going to get the job. Do you still think so?
Yeah.
Or why do you think so?
I still think Will is ahead in the quarterback race right now, and it goes back to those things. It seems like he is adapting to the new things that they're both being asked to do, and that's going through your drops, going through progressions, taking the ball from under center. Jim McElwain's even talked about Treon Harris having difficulty with Cam Dillard, who's playing center, just with that receiving the ball from him and not getting it in the shotgun. So I think Will is taking to that a little quicker than Treon is, and I think that accuracy-wise, Will's slightly ahead as well.
What are the chances, let's just play devil's advocate here, what are the chances we could see a 2-quarterback system since they are so different?
I think you will see both quarterbacks. I wouldn't call it a 2-quarterback system where you're thinking maybe they're splitting reps 50-50, 60-40. I think if Will Grier wins the quarterback job, Treon Harris will have certain packages that utilize his strengths. So do I think, a starter's named and then you only see one guy, health given, you only see one guy the rest of the year? No, I think Jim McElwain's going to find a way to get both quarterbacks on the field. Because, again, you don't want any one of these guys to transfer. You didn't sign a quarterback last year. You didn't sign one the year before. The one you did sign the year before left. Max Staver left. So you've got really 2 scholarship quarterbacks. You got Skylar Morningweg, who's technically a scholarship quarterback, and then that's it. So if Treon Harris or Will Grier were to transfer, you're really up the creek without a paddle at that position.
Okay, let's talk about the guy. Let's just touch on this one more time. That has been picking up steam. Y'all keep putting it on social media, so we have to talk about it. Jacob Guy. Is there a chance I don't want to use a bad word. Is there a chance though that guy gets named the guy?
Every quarterback out there had a chance with the new regime coming in. Complete blank page. Everyone had first impressions, was able to do it. Jacob Guy is the third best quarterback at practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people are saying, well, none of the quarterbacks are really standing out. Well, that doesn't mean that if none of them are standing out, that the skill set of two of them aren't head and shoulders better than another guy. Jacob Guy is 6'5", big kid, strong arm. So there's a lot of those tangible things, on paper. Sure, why can't he win the starting quarterback job? But when you go out and practice, he's just not as developed or as ready as the two guys ahead of him.
Okay, I think that unless we get some breaking news that Jacob Guy has been named the starting quarterback, that's the last we'll talk about him.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're the one that asked the question, so.
We spent a lot of time on quarterbacks, so we'll go through these next ones a little bit quicker. Wide receiver. Let's just start with Demarcus Robinson.
Demarcus Robinson's a freak. That's what everyone says about him. I have no better adjective to describe it. He's been given God-gifted ability that you can't teach. With him, it's just finding ways to utilize it. And the last coaching staff really didn't do that. So what we're seeing in practice some is the quarterback take a snap and there's no drop. It's snap, you're taking your right foot, plant it, turn, and you're throwing it to Demarcus. And what you're basically saying there is there's 11 guys on the field, but we don't care about that. We're going to go one-on-one. Mm-hmm. We think our player who's catching the ball is better than the guy that you're putting in front of him. And that's what the coaching staff really wasn't able to do last year. They weren't able to create those situations where they had an advantage in giving that athlete a chance to go make a play. So you're seeing that with Demarcus Robinson.
And then a guy that's kind of come on a little bit more during camp, C.J. Wharton.
C.J. Wharton is a really intriguing guy. I thought he had the best hands in fall camp last year of any of the receivers, Quentin Dunbar, Demarcus Robinson included. He's not the kind of freak athlete that Demarcus Robinson is, but he's a pure receiver. So when you're talking about that, I'm talking about footwork, timing, getting in and out of his cuts. C.J. Wharton's going to be there. He's going to be at the exact spot where he's supposed to be. So when a quarterback is throwing to a space, throwing to a spot on the field rather than throwing to a receiver, C.J. Wharton's not going to get you an interception because he wasn't where he's supposed to be. Obviously,
so good safety net.
Obviously had an incident where he broke his hand last year, missed some time, and that really hurt his playing time or potential to play as a freshman, but is a player that I expect to do big things this year.
And then, we don't have to spend a lot of time on him, but Ahmad Fullwood, I mean, he's got the height.
Yeah.
Can they just throw it up there to him?
Well, it's not even that, because, he has the height, so you think red zone target. But then you look at the Birmingham Bowl last year, and he catches a screen, takes it 70 yards for a touchdown. I think those three, the three we just touched on, are definitely the most talented wide receivers that Florida has, and the guys that you're really going to look to make an impact next year. And then you get Demarcus Robinson, might only be 6'1", but the way he can jump and the way he can run, he might be just as tall on the field as a 6'5" Ahmad Fullwood.
And then one last guy for receiver, and it'll help us transition into running backs, is Brandon Powell. Mm-hmm. He flipped over technically from running back to wide receiver, but when you look at his stats from last year, he was pretty balanced on offense, his receiving reception. He actually had 147 receiving yards as compared to only 70 rushing. Mm-hmm. So was that just a no-brainer to switch him over?
Well, with him, it's just a skill thing with him. So what Jim McElwain is doing and what the coaching staff before did is saw he can run the ball, but he's a little bit small to maybe run between the tackles in the SEC. So what should we do? Can we motion him out? Well, now when you motion him out of the backfield, you have a linebacker on him one-on-one. And there's no linebacker in the SEC that's going to be able to keep up with him, make cuts with him. So I think it's a no-brainer, like you said, to move him out there and create mismatches for the defense.
Now, running backs, that's where Brandon Powell was technically last year. You have Kelvin Taylor returning, Adam Lane. Between the two of those, though, do we see a guy like Jordan Scarlett making an immediate impact?
For me personally, I think Adam Lane is falling behind. It's never good when you have a coach come out and call out your work ethic. And that's basically what Jim McElwain did last week. He came out and said, Adam Lane's going to play when he wants to. Right now, all he's doing is falling behind.
That was unnecessary, guy that just went by on the motorcycle.
I think Kelvin Taylor is clearly right now head and shoulders the number one running back. Me personally, I don't think all that much of Kelvin Taylor. I have people tell me on social media, well, he's Fred's son. Well, that's okay. Fred's not running the ball. It's Kelvin running the ball. To me, honestly, I think Jordan Scarlett is, when he arrives on campus this summer, will be already, as a freshman, before taking a snap, the best running back with the tools that he has on campus.
Well, high praise. No pressure there,
Well, he
Jordan
also
Scarlett.
went to St. Thomas Aquinas. Go Raiders.
Tight ends. Are we actually going to see them used the way they're supposed to be this year?
No.
Oh,
because
okay.
Jim McElwain's not using a prototypical tight end. He wants his tight ends to play kind of an H-back role. And I know they don't like the name around here, but when you think H-back role, we're thinking how Urban Meyer was able to use Aaron Hernandez. So that's a bigger player that you'll see line up as a traditional tight end, off tackle, hand in the dirt. You'll see him lined up in the backfield. You'll see him lined up in the slot. You'll see him lined up wide in certain packages.
Okay, so we hit on most of the offense, except for offensive line, but let's just be honest. They need their own day of discussion. Let's not even get into that. We'll come back on Monday, hit on all the defense. Got a lot more to deal with there. Just final thoughts. If you had to give a grade to the offense after 2 weeks of practice, what would it be?
It's tough to say. If you're grading on what they're doing on the field, it might be a C-. It's not great. But there's a lot being thrown at them right now. So potential and how they're picking it up and just how they're buying in, I think I would give the offense a B. It's still not where you want it to be. If the first game is tomorrow, it's definitely not where you want it to be. But I think they're picking things up slowly and surely.
C's good to things go. Anyways, thanks so much, Nick. We'll be back on Monday with defense.